Hey everyone, and welcome to Hey everyone, thank you so much for tuning. Hey everyone, welcome to Woman. Hey everyone, welcome to Wom. Whoa. Woo. Hey everyone, welcome to Woman Unplugged, our official YouTube channel. Thank you so much for tuning in and for being part of this. We stream on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, and more. But today we are commencing on the journey of all things YouTube and YouTube videos. And I have a few things I want to share with you today. Our premiere video today is in honor of the superheroes of this globe called Earth, aka moms. Today's episode is titled Quarantined, Confronting Motherhood. What comes to your mind when you hear the word mom?
Mom! Mommy! Mommy! Mama! Mama! Mama!
What?
Hi.
Motherhood is hard, yes. It's also wonderful and glorious and special, but sometimes it's hard. Nothing seems holy, nothing feels sacred. You can't even take a dump without a little breathing, dependent human being looking for you, trying to figure out where you went to since they saw you the last time 15 seconds ago. It's beautiful and it's hard. A constant sweeping up of Cheerios, wiping of butts, drying of tears, and the guilt. Oh, the guilt. Feeling guilty for yelling too much, feeling guilty for not challenging them enough, feeling guilty for not working, even though we're working very much so, feeling guilty for going to work. Guilt, guilt, guilt. There is constantly this sense of feeling like you're not measuring up, like you're getting it wrong and missing the mark.
So, I suppose any grandchildren I could expect from you would be...
Ogres. Yes.
After all, we should be able to raise our own chickens in the backyards or on the porch of our apartment, make our own organic wool clothing, make it all look like Pinterest in the process, milk our cows that we somehow hide in the closet along with those jeans that we may or may not fit into anymore, and just do it all so well that we can freely exclaim,
Nailed it!
we did not nail that. Nor do we need to, nor do we have to. I know, it's not always so bad. There's the laughter, the doodling, the hugs and kisses, the milk and cookies, crap, the milk spilled, more yelling, more guilt. Suck an egg. It's like this cycle of trying and then failing and trying again and constantly having a sense like we are not doing enough. We would kill for these little human beings, and sometimes we have thoughts of killing our own offspring. It's hard. It is hard. We are responsible for raising and keeping alive and nurturing these precious, amazing, and fragile little human beings. They are pretty resilient. And it's so different than those dolls and the cars that we played with when we were children. Our children need us. We love them. It's this bond we can't explain with words, this instinct deep in our guts, a connection that reaches far into our hearts and overwhelms our exhausted minds. We can sense things like some ninja mutant warrior goddess. We can smell their poopy diapers from 3 rooms away. We can see the look of a guilty conscience on their face when they got into trouble. We know what they need. We can sense what they're looking for, even through the sound of their crying. A mother's love is a force to be reckoned with. They don't call us mama bears for nothing. We will eat your head off for breakfast, regurgitate it, and eat it again for lunch and for dinner, were you to ever harm our precious descendants. Seriously, though, there is this fierceness about a mother's love, unlike anything else. Yet somehow, mothers are also among those who are hardest on themselves. Somehow, along the line, we bowed to it like enslaved servants who were once daughters walking freely. We believed this lie that we are not good enough, not doing enough, too broken, not lovable. And you know, it's hard. It's hard to serve and to give, not knowing for a long time if these little creatures you so strongly adore even love you back, or if they will resent you for the rest of your life for ruining them. So many sacrifices involved, regardless if your children are little, in the oh so interesting teenager phase, or maybe they've left the house and you're left behind with an empty nest trying to find a new sense of normal and a new sense of purpose after you've invested your entire lives into these human beings. There's this constant feeling of failing and not measuring up. Am I doing enough? Am I doing it well? Are they ready for the world and what's to come? Who can live like that? And yet somehow we do, and we keep trucking more diapers, more tears, more Cheerios, and more guilt.
My husband is back there sound asleep!
I'm sorry.
Not to mention the children took me weeks to get them to sleep!
I don't even have kids, but I can imagine that is just a really hard thing to do.
All I get is 6 months of a little mommy time.
In this season of quarantine and lockdown, motherhood and the gory glory that it brings might even be amplified. We're stuck at home all the time. And it's hard. It wears on the sanity of our children and it wears on our sanity. There's no easy fix, no magic wand that will make your exhaustion go away. And you might think that you've heard it all. Why this YouTube video? Why a podcast episode on motherhood? But Mama, I know you're exhausted. I know you're worn, and maybe you feel lonely. So listen to this as I share just for another few moments, a few things, truth that I believe can set us free and give us ground to stand on, maybe even help us breathe a little deeper, quarantine or not. Number 1, who you are as a person, as a woman, not wife of, girlfriend of, or mother of, but as a person, matters.
Who are you?
I've been asking the same question.
It affects how you parent. It affects how you relate to the world. It affects how you relate to yourself. Your personality was created unique and for a purpose. Sometimes I found myself disciplining my children, not with a focus on them and what discipline and correction they needed, but with a focus on my surroundings and what others might be thinking of me, trying to prove that I had my kids in check and I was a good mother. Too much of my focus and my time was spent on worrying to prove myself to other people when they were probably just busy doing the same thing, vice versa, afraid that I was judging them. We need a diagnosis before we can figure out what medicine to take. Find out who you are. What are your core fears, your core desires? These things drive you, often on autopilot. They affect your parenting and the way you approach self-care or the lack thereof.
Cake and balloons for lunch? It's gonna be the best day ever!
And how you relate to yourself in the world. Consent to learning and to loving yourself. Love the person you were created to be. Number 2, step out of the comparison trap. It is exactly that, a trap that will ensnare you.
What do you call this?
A trap.
If someone pointed a trap out to us that was ahead of us along the road, we would steer clear. Yes, some of us might try to get close out of curiosity, but we would avoid stepping in. If only we worked in the same way in regards to the comparison trap, staying as far away from it as possible, recognizing the early triggers when we're headed down that path. Your mothering will not look like the mothers around you. It won't even be the same like your own mother's mothering.
Mamas. Baby mamas.
The way you parent is unique to your personality and to the personality of your child. And that is all right. You have everything you need for this job. It has already been given to you. Believe that. Engage in the truth that you are equipped to mother and that your unique personality is a gift in this role that you've been given. Number 3, find community. No, I'm not just talking about a Facebook group or a small group that meets every week, even though those are amazing and can be very beneficial. But you might not have the time for that. Try to find a group of friends, even if it's just 1 or 2, that you can have honest, real, and unplugged conversations with. Women who can support and encourage you, who can hold you accountable.
What do we do?
Quick, this way!
So you can stretch and grow one another. Don't wait until you're at the verge of a breakdown.
Total annihilation in T-minus 30 seconds.
Before you reach out to someone and ask for help. You know, the ecosystem was built in a way that if one thing breaks down, there is a buffer within the system so that not everything goes out of whack. And in the same sense, we need to have a system. Sometimes it's not the thing that breaks us that we should be most careful and concerned with, but it's the system that we are surrounded in. Are you surrounded with the system that can buffer when you are low, that can pick you back up so you can cheer one another on?
My mom would say the best stuff, though. You're the only one who can do it, sweetie.
Embrace accountability, community, and the effort that it takes to open your heart to another person. Number 4, learn to listen.
I can help you, but we're gonna have to make a few changes around here.
There's wisdom everywhere. God is constantly speaking, encouraging, admonishing, and disciplining us, like a good parent would. Heather Farrell so beautifully said this. Have you ever noticed that it's often the men that go up into the mountains to have communion with God? The women can't so easily make that trip to the mountains because they can't abandon their children, the fire, the kitchen, and the duties around the house. Because they can't go into the mountain for that communion, God goes and meets them. He meets them in the kitchen, as they sit at the sickbed, as they give birth, as they cook for their family and raise their children. God is very much present in the mundane and in the ordinary. Psalm 51 verse 16 to 17 says, "You do not delight in sacrifice, or I would bring it. You do not take pleasure in burnt offerings. My sacrifice, O God, is a broken and a contrite heart." But God has no need for our sacrifices, no need for us to prove that we can be and do it all. Sometimes we can sense Him closest when we're the most broken, the most exhausted, and we come to Him in humility and with our brokenness, being real before a very real and present God. Number 5, God is God. You are not, so stop trying to be.
Great! Where do you get these ideas?
God says, "Be still and know that I'm God." But as a mom, we know it's often very hard to find a moment of stillness and silence, and we wait until we can finally relax, to rejuvenate and to recover. You know, the cervix has to be stretched before our bodies can give birth. And even in the process of adoption and foster care, there are steps, often hard work that has to be done before we can welcome the child into our home. And in the same sense, we have to be stretched. There is a lot of refining and stretching that happens for us to be able to give birth to the promises that we've received. It's very similar with motherhood, I believe. We learn as we go. We are stretched and we grow until we can give birth. You've never been the age that you are now. And you've never been a mother to these children that you have before. We're all new to this thing called life. The second we are in right now, we have never been in before. And so as we learn to walk, as we learn to raise our children, we have to remember we are children too. But there's hope because God is, and He is good. He is a good father. He is a good mother. In Matthew 16 verse 15, Jesus asks, "Who do you say I am?" Pastor Michael and Elaine Shreve so wisely pointed out, he didn't ask, "What do you think of me?" He asked, "Who do you say I am?" Because it doesn't matter what people thought of Him. Jesus knew who He was and whose He was, and that stands. That was not going to change. But it does matter who He is to us. I believe it was Oswald Chambers who said, "Will you let Him be everything that He says He is?" Let Him be to you everything that He says He is. If He truly is King, if He is Lord, then you are safe. Then you are free. Then there is hope for you and a lot of grace. Sweet sister, you can stand on that truth. In this thing called life, in motherhood, in womanhood. If He truly is King to you, ruler of the galaxies, everlasting Father, a good mother, kind, forgiving, then you are whole, then you are forgiven. And then you are on your way, and there is someone who is going to guide you as your children follow you and you follow Him. You are not a slave anymore. You are a daughter of the star breather, daughter of a God who is so faithful that He handpicked you for this role of motherhood. entrusted you with these lives. And he will keep his promises, and he's promised that he who begun a good work in you will be faithful and will complete it. So let him be to you everything that he says he is, everything you need, everything your children need. You're on your way, sweet mama. Keep trucking. He's got you, and you've got this. Rest in that today.
That was great!
Thank you.